Hey there, scientists! Caroline here. In 1988, scientists discovered something surprising in Lake St. Clair, a small lake that connects Lake Huron to Lake Erie. Tiny zebra mussels, a species a long way from their native habitat in Eastern Europe. At first glance, these zebra mussels didn't seem like much of a threat. They were small, quiet, and seemingly harmless. I mean, what damage could a bunch of tiny mussels really do? Fast forward to today, and those little mussels have made a massive impact. Zebra mussels have spread far beyond Lake St. Clair. They've invaded all 5 Great Lakes, dozens of U.S. rivers, and even water systems as far south as Texas. They coat surfaces by the millions, clogging water pipes, damaging boats, and causing serious harm to aquatic ecosystems. So how did this happen? And what does it mean for biodiversity? And more importantly, what can we do to protect ecosystems from these invaders? In today's lesson, we'll answer these questions and more as we dive into the world of invasive species. Ready, scientists? Let's get started. Invasive species are organisms that aren't native to an area, but manage to move in and disrupt the ecosystem. They can be animals, plants, fungi, and even single-celled organisms like bacteria. Now, to be clear, not all newly introduced species become invasive. Many fail to survive or don't spread widely. But when a species is well adapted to its new environment, and especially when it faces no natural predators, the consequences can be devastating. These successful invaders often share key traits. They find food easily, reproduce quickly, and outcompete native species. Take the zebra mussel, for example. These mussels are capable of filtering plankton, their main food source, from water at rates much faster than mussels native to Lake Erie. And they also reproduce much faster. As the invasive mussel population grows and consumes more plankton, what happens to the native plankton population? That's right, it decreases. Considering that plankton are a limited resource, how might this impact the populations of other species in the lake? Pause and record your thoughts in your guided notes. With less plankton, there's less food for native mussels or small fish, decreasing their population. This also means less food for species at the top of the food chain. In addition to changing the food web, zebra mussels alter their habitats as well, coating surfaces and increasing the clarity of the water through filtration. This might seem like a good thing, but when sunlight is able to penetrate deeper into the lake, it changes the lake's temperature and distribution of plants, harming species that are not adapted to the new conditions. Here's another example, the Burmese python. This massive snake is native to Southeast Asia, but it has now made its way into the Florida Everglades. In this new environment, the python has no natural predators and plenty of prey. As a result, its population has exploded. As Burmese pythons have multiplied, populations of their prey, mostly birds and mammals, have dropped dramatically. Some species have declined by as much as 90%. So what do these two cases, the zebra mussel in the Great Lakes and the Burmese python in the Everglades, tell us about invasive species and biodiversity? Invasive species can dramatically reduce biodiversity by outcompeting or eating native species and by altering habitats. This makes ecosystems less stable and more vulnerable to future changes. But this still begs the question, how do invasive species like zebra mussels or Burmese pythons travel across oceans and continents in the first place? Scientists, how do you think that zebra mussels managed to travel all the way from Eastern Europe to the Great Lakes? It turns out that they hitched a ride on transatlantic cargo ships as undercover passengers. This kind of accidental travel is also common with invasive plants and insects. For example, seeds from plants like garlic mustard can stick to boots, fur, or vehicles and travel far from their origin. And insects like the emerald ash borer can hide in firewood, spreading to new forests where they cause serious damage. So what about the Burmese python? It seems pretty unlikely that these massive snakes stowed away on ships or planes unnoticed. Instead, they were likely transported to America as exotic pets, where they escaped, or were intentionally released, into the wild. Escaped or released species aren't unusual. Many invasive species, especially aquatic ones, enter new environments when people release pets they can no longer care for. Goldfish, turtles, and aquarium plants are often let loose into lakes, ponds, or streams by well-meaning owners who think it's the kind or responsible choice. But once released, these organisms can reproduce and disrupt native ecosystems. Let's look at one final example. Kudzu, a fast-growing vine from Asia. People in the southern United States purposefully planted it with good intentions to prevent soil erosion and decorate gardens. But it grew out of control, climbing over power lines and buildings while smothering native plants, earning it the nickname, the vine that ate the South. All right, scientists, what do you notice about the origins of all of these examples? That's right. Human actions often contribute to invasive species. But let's dig a little deeper. What do these actions usually have in common? Pause the video and record your thoughts in your guided notes. You might have said transportation, or a lack of awareness or knowledge. Humans typically don't unleash invasive species to harm ecosystems on purpose. With this in mind, let's look at some solutions. One of our most important lines of defense against invasive species is education and awareness. When people are aware of the risks, they can make better choices and take steps to prevent the spread of invasive species before it starts. Prevention can look like following inspection and quarantine rules when moving plants, animals, or goods across borders, cleaning boats, fishing gear, and hiking boots before entering a new body of water or natural area, or avoiding the release of pets or non-native plants into the wild and learning how to rehome them responsibly instead. However, even with strong prevention, invasive species can still slip through. That's where early detection comes in. Monitoring programs help scientists catch invasive species early, before they spread and become harder to manage. And when early detection isn't enough, the final step is removal and control. This can include physically removing species, such as hand-pulling invasive plants or trapping and rehoming animals. Or it can involve biological control, using nature against the invader by introducing natural predators, parasites, or diseases that target them. Or invasive species can be targeted by chemical control, using carefully applied herbicides or pesticides. All right, scientists, let's think back on the solutions we've covered: education, prevention, early detection, and removal and control. Which solution or combination of solutions do you think would be the most effective at managing the zebra mussels in the U.S.? Pause and record your thoughts in your guided notes. You may have said that education and prevention are key to stopping their spread to new lakes and rivers, or that monitoring programs help track their population and detect new outbreaks, and removal methods can help reduce their numbers in heavily affected areas. The truth is, there's no one-size-fits-all solution. While some control methods work better than others in certain situations, each comes with its own costs and benefits to consider. Managing invasive species usually requires a combination of strategies, and the sooner we act, the more effective those strategies can be. And with that, we've wrapped up our lesson on invasive species. Invasive species can significantly reduce biodiversity by outcompeting or preying on native species, and they often spread through human activity, whether by accident or on purpose. The good news? We can also be part of the solution. By working to prevent new invasions and control existing ones, we can help protect Earth's biodiversity now and for the future. In our next lesson, we'll look into more solutions for restoring native ecosystems. Until then, I'm Caroline, and remember, this whole planet is one giant living web, and every species, including you, is a part of it. Even small actions can make a difference, so don't underestimate the impact you can have. Stay observant, keep asking questions, and I'll see you next time.